Clint,
Hey Richie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. All the better for seeing you. What a great array of posters and stuff you got, man. And you're a man of my own heart, man. I can guess the decade I don't know if you grew up in that decade, but you're definitely a fan of it. So I salute you, sir.
Okay, yes, greatest intro ever, by the way, for an On the Road to Rock. Someone coming and heaping praise onto me that has never happened before. So, Richie, we are from the same ilk. I'm just a few years younger than you, so we like I don't know. I dove headfirst into everything that I saw growing up from the MTV age into whether it be pop culture, wrestling, movies, the '80s and early '90s. That's kind of my time period. So as you can see, I've never left it, I guess.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
Well, Richie, it's such a pleasure to have you here on the Road to Rock, my friend. You're looking great. How's everything been going? It's a crazy time, but a busy time for you. And I assume everything's ready to roll here for you guys this summer.
Yeah, going well, man. As you said, it's a lot of work. Records. Both with Priest and obviously Elegant Weapons. The Elegant Weapons. I was talking to someone the other day, and I said the record's coming out next month, and it dawned on me that no, it's
This
actually
month.
this month. We're in May already. It was Christmas yesterday. You know what I mean? It feels like time is just going so like a million miles an hour these days. But it's busy. It's good busy. It's creative. We're putting music out. We're working on videos to put out and all that sort of good stuff. So it's a lot, but it's good stuff.
Well, the debut Elegant Weapons album, it's called Horns for a Halo. It's coming out May 26th this month here via Nuclear Blast Records. And man, I got to say, this is a real treat for fans of hard rock music. And I'm so glad that this project is coming to fruition here. You mentioned some of the videos. When I first heard Do or Die, it's like, man, that song has such a melodic catchiness to it that it kind of blew me away. I mean, this album is kind of, from what I've heard so far, it covers a lot of ground. There's a lot going on here. I mean, just kind of talk about the writing process and putting this thing together. I mean, did you kind of want to meld a lot of different kind of genres into this? It's not overtly heavy. It's not overtly, poppy or anything like that. It all kind of comes together in this album, it seems like.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, really. I mean, what we were talking about before, I'm a child of a certain era. And I think that was the music I grew up with. I grew up with, bands like Maiden, Priest, Metallica, but I also grew up with bands like Ultravox and Bryan Adams and Roxy Music and Duran Duran, bands like that. So I'm a big fan of melody. I'm a big fan of heaviness, but as you said, not overtly, not over the top heavy, just kind of that melodic heavy that, like the bands I mentioned. I think melody for me has always been of the utmost importance. I think you can go to all the countries around the world that might not speak English, that might not understand your lyrics, but they understand the melody, they understand the music first, so that's always been of utmost importance to me. So that's kind of the writing process for me. I sit down with the guitar. I've always got the guitar strapped on, and I see what jumps out, and the guitar sort of dictates what I write. Really, it kind of jumps out because of those influences that are embedded in my DNA, and that's kind of where it starts off, really.
Well, you've got Ronnie Romero on vocals for this project, which is, I'll tell you what, I saw Michael Schenker opening for Wasp on their last tour, and I was so blown away with how Ronnie handled those some of those Robin McCauley songs or some of the Graham Bonnet stuff. Like his voice is just so powerful. What a coup to have him singing on this. And I know you're a big Schenker guy, so how perfect is it to have him on this project singing with you?
Well, carrying on from my last point, really, of being a fan of melody, Ronnie's got such a melodic sensibility and there's such a melodic quality in his voice, that we all know and love. He's a voice that we know from, Coverdale and, there's so many influences in there, Dio, and, you can name quite a few of them. But the great thing about this record, I think, and I think Ronnie would agree with you, is that you can hear more of the Ronnie Romero in there. And it's exciting to think that the more records we do together, the more we grow and evolve as a band. Hopefully more of that comes out. And it's exciting to see how Ronnie evolves as a singer as the band evolves. So, but yeah, absolutely. He's an ace card to have up your sleeve, Ronnie Romero.
And the band has evolved here since its inception, because like when you first started out, I think you had Rex Brown from Pantera playing on the record, Scott Travis from Priest, and now it's kind of evolved to where it is now. Just talk about the evolution of the band itself, and kind of whenever you get to this point of the album's release and playing dates, trying to kind of have some different members come in and play live with you guys.
Exactly that. I mean, when I put the record down, I'm just fortunate enough to have some great friends that happen to be legends, like Scott and Rex. And I called them up, and first and foremost, it was getting the record done. And then, I was going to see what happened from there. But obviously, Rex can't do it. He's doing Pantera at the moment, and he's dominating the world. No pun intended. And, Scott had other things going on, but that was fine. I mean, as I said, I was just grateful that they were able to record the record. And then moving on from there, I hit up, Davey Rimmer from Uriah Heep, who's been a best friend of mine for over 20 years, and Christopher Williams on drums. Christopher actually recorded the drums. He recorded the album before Scott came in. I wanted to get the process rolling. Scott wasn't available at the time, so I got Chris in to do the drums, and then we got Scott in later on to replace them. So Christopher was intimately connected with the album. So when Scott couldn't do it, Christopher was a natural choice, really. So they were all natural choices to get in, take the band forward to the next step.
Well, there's no question that obviously playing in a band like Judas Priest has been a dream come true for you, and you've provided been such a shot in the arm for that band and for the last album, which is Firepower. You got a new album coming out, but how important is it for you to be able to flex your creative muscle sort of outside of Priest? And obviously, as we know, I mean, gosh, in the last 7 years, I was just thinking about all the bands that I've seen for the last time. I was at the last Twisted Sister show. I saw Motorhead for the last time right before Lemmy died. All these things have happened since then. Aerosmith just announced a farewell tour. So it's also good to be able to look at a life that will someday be outside of Priest as well, right?
Well, I think that was the kind of the seeds that sowed the ideas for this band, really. I mean, me and Glenn Tipton were having a conversation when I joined the band, and I joined the band on the farewell tour. It was the Epitaph tour, which was at the time going to be the last world tour. Fortunately, that wasn't the case, but at the time, it was a very real thing for me that this band was going to retire soon. So, again, fortunately, we're still putting out new music and we're still touring with Priest. But one day that will happen, and for me, I wanted to lay the groundwork for what could potentially be my career and our career after Priest. And I think we're all on the same page. Christopher's from Accept. That might be the case one day. Davey's from Uriah Heep. I think they're on their 50th anniversary tour as well. Ronnie's playing in Michael Schenker. Rainbow. It's the same kind of thing. So I think we're all on the same page. We can take the DNA from those legacy bands and hopefully take it into the future.
Oh, that's absolutely well said. I mean, truthfully, Richie, I mean, you're kind of to blame for the fact that Priest continues on and continues at such a high level that they are, because I think Rob's even said that you provided Priest with this just like renewed sense of urgency and to continue on. And I think that you're sort of rubbing off on other bands. Motley Crue just brought in John 5 and they've said the same thing now. So maybe that's kind of could be a formula to be able for bands to continue, is like, hey, let's bring in someone, like a Richie Faulkner. You're sort of like we're doing the Richie Faulkner thing, and it's working for bands. It's happening. You sort of influenced, I think, maybe in some of these bands to do this.
Well, I think, some bands it works, some bands it doesn't, and it's just the positive ones. Actually, no, sometimes, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think when you bring someone else into an organization, whether it's a band or an office or a football team, you're going to get a different dynamic. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In Priest's case, fortunately, we're here 12 years later, and it worked. Sometimes it doesn't work so well, but we've just been fortunate. The world's a better place that we've still got Judas Priest, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
That is 100% accurate, and I am thankful for all legacy bands that are you're still able to go see. I mean, I'm 39, so I came onto this stuff, with bands already well into their careers. So to be able to still do it, I mean, that's what I live for, and it's all about the music. So with Elegant Weapons, you guys are going out, of course, on tour here this summer, starting in June. Lots of big festivals, playing some shows with Pantera. My question to you, Richie, is you're known for kind of your stage look. With Judas Priest, you kind of have to fit in with the leather and the rest of the guys, right? So have you developed like a stage look or some stage clothes or are you just going to go like the t-shirt and jeans route when you guys start playing live here?
Do you know, it's a good question. We've talked about it. I think we're going to see what happens naturally. Sometimes you can, you can think about that stuff too much. It can be a little bit too contrived. You know, you can try a bit too hard. Sometimes if it doesn't jump out at you straight away, just kind of do it naturally and see what evolves. The good thing about it is the evolution of a band. You know, when a band grows and evolves. I mean, even Priest was the same. You know, if you look at Priest back in the 70s, they look completely different to what they look like later on. They kind of found their footing in the image. And that's a healthy thing for a band. I don't think it needs to be decided all the time when you go out straight away. You can find your footing in that regard. Musically as well, you know, it can evolve and change and grow as the band's career goes on. So we'll see what happens. I think, we'll see how we feel, and that's what it's got to be about.
Well, Richie, I was fortunate enough to see Iron Maiden on the Somewhere Back in Time tour. I talked about your time kind of playing with Lauren Harris, because we just had George Harris on the show a couple weeks ago. His band,
great.
The Raven Age, is opening for Maiden this summer. They've been in the trenches. They know the pressure of opening for Iron Maiden and what that can be. Lauren, I always really enjoyed that band you guys had and really thought she was a good front woman and a good singer. She's not really doing much in music anymore, I don't think, but kind of take us back to that experience and what that was like opening for Maiden with Lauren.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren, you know, she never backed down. She was like her father, you know, she was up against some challenges. You know, you can imagine, you know, opening for Maiden in itself is a challenge, but she never backed down from anything. You know, there was a couple of instances where, you know, we were up against a couple of things where I didn't know how we were going to get out of it. I started the wrong song, for example. So I was thinking, how the bloody hell are we going to get out of this? And she'd get out of it, you know. And we were supposed to be the veteran musicians helping her through it, and she would get out of it. So she never backed down from any challenge. So I give her props for that. You know, she got that from her father for sure. But I think she's acting now. She's pursuing an acting career. And we still talk, we still communicate with each other. We're still great friends and stuff. But opening for Maiden is like a massive education. You know, you do some massive tours. You know, you find out what it's like to be on the road at that scale and that schedule with those fans and a band that's, you know, loved that much around the world. And you sink or swim, man. You've got to, you know, you get up there and you sink or swim, and that's it.
What's it been like for you personally? You know, Richie, I know a lot of your influences. I know a lot of the bands you grew up kind of idolizing. You're in Judas Priest, which is a dream in and of itself. And it's helped open up avenues for a band like Elegant Weapons with some tremendous musicians. Like, what's it been like for you personally? Is there times where you just kind of pinch yourself, or are you kind of more in the moment business like moving forward? Or are there real moments that this is overwhelming for you, that you've been thrust into this universe?
Well, it changed my life, obviously, you know, initially. But you're absolutely right. Sometimes, you know, it is kind of, you're absolutely immersed in what you do and you're moving forward, whether it's a Priest record or an Elegant Weapons record, or, you know, planning the future of it, or, you know, there's a tour or whatever it is. But sometimes you do step back and you think, you know, is this for real? You know, we're 12 years later, and it changed my life 12 years ago. And this has become, you know, our life now. My family, there's a family there. It's a different situation. And then you get your head down again and you're planning the next step or the next album, or, you know, so it's a bit of both, really. That's really what it is. And it's a balance, and keeping a balance between the two. You've got to step back every now and again and rest. But then, as I keep saying, you've got to get your head down, and because life's short, man. You've got to kind of, I mean, not to get into that, but I know life's short, you know. You never know what's around the corner. So you've got to kind of, if you've got a record to write or something to say, then you've got to do it, you know?
Yeah. You know, Richie, that you bring that up, and obviously you suffered from a very serious health scare on stage at the Louder Than Life Festival in Kentucky back in 2021. Yeah. Just kind of, do you pursue music and the passions in your life with kind of a different, renewed sense of urgency or of zeal because of that happening? And by the way, like, that moment has become, it's like taken on a life of its own. Like, there's just some like video footage on YouTube where people are saying that this is the most metal moment now in history, that Richie Faulkner flawlessly playing the guitar solo of Painkiller while having an aortic disruption, which is like a miracle in and of itself, that you're here. I mean, this is just, I don't know. There's a lot of emotions that go with this. So,
well, first of all, it wasn't flawlessly played. Let me tell you. Let me clear that up. But
well, you
I
know,
understand. I understand what you're saying. No, it was just one of those things. It was one of those things that happen in life. I happened to be playing the Painkiller solo. I understand what you mean. It was under metal circumstances, and the Reaper was on stage in Kentucky that night, and I kind of beat the Reaper
Right.
by playing Painkiller. But it was one of those things. As I said, you never know what's around the corner. I'm healthy, relatively young. Don't drink overly much. I don't eat like someone who eats a lot. I don't. So it just came out of the blue, and I'm very lucky to be here. So, in answer to your question, it kind of makes me think. It gives me a focus. All this stuff, as I said before, like the stuff that I'm writing, or if we're putting a video together, or whatever it may be, it gives me a focus. It's like a medicine, and it was a medicine to kind of get better, to get back on the road, to get the record done, to work on this. It's healing somehow, because it's who I am, you know what I mean? So it's however I can get back to being who I am is a healing process for me. So and as I said before, if you've got a record to write or a book to write or whatever it may be, get it done, because you never know what's around the corner.
And it's actually influenced people like me. I'm 39, and I look at all these bands, and I look at, I just saw the Scorpions a few months ago, bands that are in their 70s. And I think about, like, this happened to of all the band members and all the bands that are still playing at, into their advanced ages, into their 60s and 70s. This happened to you, a young person who's just my age. And so it's influenced me to, like, okay, like, and I think a lot of people, like, hey, is there a way to prevent this? Is there a way to go in and check for this and try to prevent this from happening? Because it seemed so completely arbitrary and random that it happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a massive conversation that can be had about what could have caused it and where it come from and what but yeah, the point you're making is a good one. Like, we're not aware of it. No one's aware of this sort of thing. And I think it's the awareness that needs to be worked upon. A lot of people with those kind of issues, they think it's a heart attack. And there was an actor called John Ritter that died of what I had a few years ago, and they treated him for a heart attack, which killed him. It's both ends of the scale. If you treat someone for a heart attack and they're having what I had, it will kill them. And that's basically what happened. So I think it's the awareness of things like this going on that's paramount, really. Just raising people's awareness, especially. I mean, I didn't know either, but our age it happens. But I guess so. Yeah, it's just raising awareness, really.
So I kind of saw you did an interview with my good friend Chuck Shute on the Chuck Shute podcast, and talked about how a lot of the writing and the recording for the album, or at least the writing and the songs, had been before kind of this incident happened, but that maybe you're already putting together stuff for the next Elegant Weapons album. So I guess it's unfair to say that, hey, we're a few weeks away from the release of Horns for a Halo, and yet I'm also now asking you, okay, so now, Richie, what's next? You have stuff already for the next Elegant Weapons album, but I guess maybe you do.
We do, yeah. We've got stuff. We've got drums down. Davey and Christopher are over with me in the studio, I think last month, putting the drums down. I've been recording guitars the last few weeks. We've got a collection of songs, and we don't know when that's going to be, but I had a chunk of time when I had the guys together so we could get some foundations down for that. Again, we don't know when it's going to be complete or anything like that. But also, we go out early next month, June, July. We're in Europe doing some festivals. As you said, we've got some dates with Pantera next month. So we're getting the band on the road. It's important to me to have a band, as I said before, that evolves and grows creatively, both in the studio and on the live stage. That's what a band is to me. So it's important to get off our asses and do that.
Well, you're clearly someone that's very driven, that is always writing and always being in that creative process, which I think is important for a musician, especially now, because you think about like how music gets out there, just how it's consumed, and just how important like the videos for you guys that you put out. Like when you did Do or Die, I mean, that video right there in and of itself, I think helped completely like launch this project into the next stratosphere. So the creative process like always has to be you kind of always have to be on and ready for the next thing. And with all the different avenues of releasing music, the videos have become important again for the first time since 1989 when MTV was around.
Yeah, you're right. I was having this conversation the other day with someone. You're absolutely right. Now people are consuming music like that again with their eyes, and it's a bit of a new venture for me, the whole video thing. Because with Priest, we didn't really. With Firepower, we did a few videos with the label, but we've never been really a big video band since I've been in it. I think back in the '80s they did a few, but it's never been high on the priority list. I mean, they're a legacy act. It's not as vital, I think, for Priest as it would be for, it's Judas Priest. It's not necessarily that important for them to release videos, maybe. But I think for a band like Elegant Weapons, it's absolutely vital. And I think you're absolutely right. People are consuming music like that, and it absolutely helps.
Well, I've just got my name now down for the Elegant Weapons cover band that I'm going to be doing. It's going to be called Elegant Records. I've got that down and I'm patenting that right now.
Yeah, there's a few of them. There's Elephant Weapons. I think that was an alternative.
Okay.
Elephant Weapons. That. You can have like an elephant with like the tusks as like some blades and stuff like that. That would be a cool thing.
Well, I love that. Okay, Richie, you've been so generous with your time here. Right before we let you go, we hit you with our final 4 drum roll, which is 4 quick questions. We'll have some fun. You give us whatever comes to mind.
All right.
Okay, you were born in 1980, the same year Judas Priest released British Steel. Is that your favorite is that your favorite Judas Priest album, or do you have another favorite?
It's not my favorite, actually. My favorite Judas Priest record is Defenders of the Faith.
Okay. Mine's Screaming for Vengeance, so right.
Yeah, it's a toss-up between the two. Defenders of the Faith always took me to like just a different place, like the Sentinel and
it's a little darker. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It just took me to, I don't know, just like a different place in my mind, and I always come back to that one.
Okay, question 2. What is the first concert you ever attended?
It was Bryan Adams at Wembley Arena in 1987, I think, and T'Pau opened. I don't know if you remember T'Pau, China in Your Hand and stuff like that. It was T'Pau and Bryan Adams, and it was fantastic. I never knew that Bryan Adams didn't play lead guitar. There's a guy called Keith Scott, and he was fantastic.
Oh, Keith Scott's amazing. I just saw Bryan Adams in Vegas like a couple months ago, so like I'm a huge fan. Like,
is it still the same band? Is he still got like?
Yes, Keith Scott still on guitar. I believe it's all the entire band is still the same.
Unbelievable.
I think Def Leppard opened for Bryan Adams a couple years before that, like in '83 or '84. So right before that, like they played with Leppard. They were like right
amazing.
up.
What a bill that is.
Yeah, exactly. What is the first album that you remember buying, like with your own money, or that you stole?
With my own money, I'll probably give a different answer every time because my memory isn't what it used to be. But I think it was either Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden or Live After Death, I think, by Iron Maiden. One of the two.
Wow. So like when you buy Somewhere in Time, like is that – because I love that album, but coming off the heels of like Peace of Mind and then Power Slave, like for people that were like older than me, that would have probably been a shock, I would think. You're about
I didn't know anything about that.
Right.
I just thought
me either.
I didn't know about the chronological, the discography of it all. I just thought I think it might have been Live After Death because it was a live record, and then I knew enough about them to that's Iron Maiden. The cover's amazing. It looks like Blade Runner or something. It looks like robots and sci-fi. I'm going to buy that. So it was more about that for my. I mean, I was probably 11 or 10 or something like that. So I didn't care about the order of it. It just looked cool. I knew enough about it, and I'm going to buy that.
I absolutely can see that. Last one. What Elegant Weapons song do you feel like will be best fitted for a live setting, or a song that you're most looking forward to playing live off the new Elegant Weapons album?
That's a great question, man. That's that remains to be seen, and I could be completely wrong about it. I think Do or Die is going to go down well. Yeah. It's a fast one, and it's connected well on the interwebs. But then there could be some surprises as well. There could be songs that are, sleepers or dark horses, that we weren't expecting. But I'm going to say Do or Die.
I think I agree. If you need help formulating a set list, Richie, I'm your guy. It's going to be a great summer for you guys. And again, the album, which is called Horns for a Halo, comes out May 26th via Nuclear Blast Records. The community, metal community, everybody so excited about this, Richie, and that includes me. I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we get you guys over here to America sometime and we'll come out and meet you in person, my friend. We got to make that happen.
We'd love to, man. We're looking for all opportunities after Europe. You know, we're looking to come back over to the States and play some metal for you guys as well. So hopefully we'll see you in the near future.
Sounds great, Richie. Thanks so much. Continued success, my friend, and we'll see you out there soon, my man.
Thank you, Clint. Take care now.
Thanks. You bet.